This is my story, something that happened to me, not something I was told or imagined. What I am going to tell you is something that, unfortunately, I will always remember. I am 65 years old and I was born in San Felipe, a small town in the state of Guanajuato. I grew up in a ranch on the outskirts of the town. There I lived with my parents, my grandmother and my brothers. This happened when I was about 8 years old, my little brother 2 and my older sister 15. It had rained a lot those days. A pretty ugly wind did not leave the town. Between the rain, the wind and the mud, I remember waking up that morning and listening to my parents cursing outside the house. A dead cow with its little calf woke us, and there were some more animals missing, as if something had gotten into the night and made them flee, scared. It didn't stop raining. My grandmother prepared the food and my mother went to the town. I don't remember well why. What I do remember was the news with which she returned. Don Genaro, the best friend of my father, had killed his whole family and then he hanged himself. He hung himself on a tree a few meters from the nearest road to his house, and a neighbor boy found him when he left in the morning. My father was very upset with the news. He took a quick shower and went out to the town with my mother. My grandmother, like all those rainy days, did not stop praying her rosary. She even turned on more watchtowers. She said that something very bad had arrived to the people. I remember it very well, those were her words. My sister was desperate to be locked up, I guess, taking advantage of the fact that the rain calmed down at about 8 o'clock. She said she was going to see how the second cousins were doing who lived about 20 minutes from there. As much as the grandmother wanted, she did not convince her to stay. Shortly after she left, my little brother got very angry. He started crying and screaming as if he were very scared. His gaze was fixed on the ceiling and he did not react no matter how much we called him. My grandmother murmured something. I do not remember her exact words, but she went out the back door to look for some herbs, as if to prepare a tea for the child. She walked a few steps and stood still, standing there, just looking at the darkness, a few meters from the door. I remember hearing a cry, like crying, between the sound of the wind that was not stopping. She was already very old and I, being a girl, thought that if I wanted to help my brother, I had to go for my older sister, reach her and go to the house of the cousins so that they would take us to the town to look for my parents or something like that. I grabbed the child, wrapped him around, and ran away. A few meters from the house, a scream froze me. It chilled my blood. It was the most horrible scream I've ever heard. It came out of the direction of my house, but as if it came from the ceiling. That confused me and scared me more. I kept running and heard it again, approaching. Then I heard my grandmother's voice scream, begging me to come back. But I kept running and I was very afraid to turn. I ran as hard as I could with the child in my arms, but I heard my grandmother scream with all her strength. "Up, my daughter, it's up in the tree." I looked up at a huge fir tree. About 20 meters up, a horrible woman was standing among the branches, watching me, in a white dress and eyes as black as her very long hair. I ran like I had never done, back to the house. My grandmother came out to help me with the child. We closed everything. Moments later my grandmother put me to pray and went out to look for my sister, so that when she returned she would not meet that thing on the way. It was the bravest thing I have ever seen someone do. My grandmother went out with that thing there in the tree, with those screams heard in the wind. They returned shortly after. My sister did not see anything and never believed us. I fell asleep and when I woke up my parents had already arrived. They didn't believe us either. Only my grandmother and I knew what we had seen. But, something strange, my brother, as he grew up, remembered the woman in white on the tree, before we told him what happened that day. Years later we came to San Antonio, Texas and we never returned to the town. Only my grandmother stayed, who did not want to leave her little house. Shortly before she died, when I was about 20 years old, we convinced her to come visit us. On a chance I had, alone, I asked her about that white woman on the tree. She answered me with a mixture of fear and compassion. Poor thing. She keeps taking little animals and Christians. She keeps coming back to cry.